All right, guys, let's jump straight into it. We're going to talk about those future price targets for Tesla stock. There is so much going on out there, so many huge targets being thrown out there that I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on all of that. And we might very well have a special guest on as well to give his analysis on those price targets as well, and of course to give you his price target to go along with that. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, because that's exactly what you're going to get today. Even though it may make a few upset, that's okay. Our special guest may not like it either, but that's exactly what you get with this channel. So I just appreciate you guys giving it a thumbs up if you like getting that. Okay, so let's get into this here. There's a lot to get into when these price targets were released, especially Kathy Wood's price target. Some other folks out there had their own price targets that kind of coincided with that. We had a long discussion in my group about it there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of condense that discussion down so that way this video doesn't go on forever there. And also there's some things that are much more, not necessarily for public consumption per se. We kind of keep that sort of stuff there private in the group. But I'm going to give you guys a condensed version of all that there. So you have my thoughts on exactly that, exactly what I think can happen, exactly what I feel is just straight up, I won't call it trash, but it's just something that's highly unrealistic, we'll say, and kind of what it means for the stock overall as in regards to Tesla. And remember, I put out 3, 4, 5 videos like this a week in my group. Obviously, you can ask me these same exact questions on the live Q&As right now. I have one of the biggest discounts ever for my group right now going on today. So make sure you check out the pinned comment down there, see everything you get, the free courses, the free coaching, access to the stock analyzer tool for free, be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8 figure Discord out there, obviously be able to jump on our live Q&As, get these type videos. So much involved, guys. Just check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. All right, so let's jump into the video right now. All right, so let's go on to the ARC projections next. And I don't know. We're basically somehow going to get I think it was a 15x on just like the base case in 5 years. I just don't see it in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing in the earnings that's there. There's nothing in the growth rates that are there. There's nothing obviously in EPS, which is the most important there. That's going to, in order for us to get that sort of a move in the stock there, there's really absolutely nothing there that can do it. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't see revenue growing at a ridiculous rate later on. Possibly, it could very well, but I think we got to understand in order to do some of these bigger things, when we talk about some of the bigger drivers, the Tesla bot, the robo-taxi, some other things of that nature, right now you don't have capacity at any of your factories in order to do that, which means new factories need to be built. I understand they're working on some, but not enough to draw a 15x in earnings. And that's kind of the things you got to think about the scale of what that has to be from its current form out. It means you need a multitude of factories completely built out, completely producing, and completely, absolutely, having a product and the demand there to create insane amounts of profits. That all takes time. It's going to take longer, in my mind, than 5 years to build out the infrastructure required to just produce that much less have the profits and everything flowing efficiently and everything else in order for that to come down to, bottom line profits in the end. I mean, to me, that's almost basically a 10-year time horizon. And again, that's assuming that they're all a hit. That's assuming that they're highly profitable. That's assuming that the demand is what they think it's going to be there. So when I view these projections and I kind of see this sort of stuff, I understand they get a lot of clicks. I understand probably why she does it. But when Tesla was a mid cap, she made a big, bold claim and it worked. The projections since then have not worked out, or not even close, actually, in regards to what's happened there. And of course, what you do is you just release a new set of predictions that are 5 years from now. And if I keep making 5-year predictions, people will forget about when it's 5 years is up. Well, what were my predictions 5 years ago and how close I was? You can draw on that first one. That's kind of the one she rides on. But the next few aren't looking so great, to say the least there. So it's kind of one of those deals. This is kind of what we have to deal with as shareholders and what we have to understand what's going to happen with the stock and with these type projections and such. It was easier to do. And of course, everything's easier at scale, right? So when you're a small cap, having 100% growth rate or a penny stock, think about when you're real small, you're a $20 million market cap, having a 200% growth rate is no big deal. It's just not. You're small, you're growing. Of course, you see all these sorts of deals. But as you get larger and larger and larger, those growth rates get more and more and more compressed. And whether we like it or not, Tesla is still a basically large cap stock. They basically are just trying to get back to mega cap status, much less to anything else of that nature, much less this, $8 trillion, $10 trillion market cap. Let's get to 1 trillion first before we start talking about 8 trillion to $10 trillion market caps. Heck, even if we just 5x, which would essentially mean we're going to double up every year, not double up, but you're going to have, basically double up from $200 around, what are we at, 190 today, something like that. Basically, the share price goes up $109 every year for the next 5 years to just hit $1,000. To just hit $1,000, guys. That's where we're at in 5 years if that's what happens. Or I guess it's a little bit more than 5 years. So when you think about that, thinking it's going to be almost 3 times that is just, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that gets retail investors in trouble, because I understand she runs her fancy model, but she adds in all these sort of things that we don't know what they are. And oh, by the way, they were all supposed to already be here. And not a single one of those things is here today. And that right there is where we get in trouble as retail investors. That's how we got absolutely destroyed in 2021. So I don't see any way earnings gets there. That's kind of the first piece. The second piece is, even if we don't have earnings and we're just going to base it off a hype run or whatever the heck it was like we had in 2021, I don't see 2021 happening again. That was the back end of the longest bull run in the history of the stock market. Oh, and by the way, it was also on the back end of trillions of dollars being put out there that all of a sudden people were putting to work in the market, and a product of 0% interest rates, which we won't see again anytime soon, even if the Fed continues to cut rates. There's just so many factors that created that tippy top bubble that I don't see that sort of run happening again. And that's the only type of run that could happen to get even close to these numbers that she put out there. And you got to remember these things. Even if we get there, even if there's some sort of a hype run out of nowhere, despite the fact there being no macro factors or fundamental factors with Tesla to get you there, let's say that it happens, we are in for a lot of pain the next probably 5 years, maybe even 6-7 years with that stock. And if you don't believe me, I remember in 2021, I was saying this stock is going to trade down or flat for years. And here we are. We are 3 years after that time frame, going on 4 years now, 4 years, and it is basically half of what it was prior to that. So not only did it trade down for a period of 3 or 4 years, it right now is at half of that price that it was at. So it kind of tells you, and I remember I was crazy. That was just, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. No, this is the reality of the stock market and stocks whenever they get that overvalued. Like I said, I almost sold out. Obviously, it would have been the right call to sell out when we were at those highs. It was at 1,000 PE. That was the valuation of Tesla, way overvalued. And if we happen to hit Cathie Wood's number, my guess is we're going to be sitting at a very similar overvalued type situation. And due to basically my lesson learned with this one, I probably would absolutely sell out of the stock at that stage, understanding that I would be wrong in the short term. It would continue to go up. Everybody would say I was a bum and I was wrong and I didn't know what I was doing and I wasn't a believer in Tesla and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm a believer in valuation, just like I was in 2021, and everybody calling me a bear and unsubscribing from my channel and actually leaving this group in some cases because I didn't know what I was talking about, because I wasn't saying Tesla was going to 800. Instead, I thought it was going down at some point in time. Okay, could very well be true, but that's not the way stocks have worked in the past. And I doubt very seriously Tesla is going to go from a PE of 1,000 to a PE of 2,000 to support these ridiculous things that the bulls will put out there and such. So for me, when I look at this Cathie Wood's model, I just ignore it. It's just another, I can go look at several other channels, pretty little spreadsheets that I like to put out too, and see what they have as well. And like I said, some of them are fairly realistic. Some of them are just, it's pure speculation. Obviously, I hope so. I stand to win, but most likely that's going to be a severe overvalued situation like we had in 2021. And at that stage, I know the appropriate actions I would take at that time. Now, of course, it's not set in stone. I would need to assess it at the time. Of course, you guys are part of the group, so you would see that internally as we kind of work through the various different scenarios. And I know I'm going to be wrong in the short term because it's going to continue to run after I sell. I've never timed the top of anything. I've never timed the bottom of anything. That's impossible. But I do understand valuation and understand it's going to come down or go flat, and I will have plenty of time later on to add to it if it gets that ridiculously overvalued. Now, I don't think that's going to happen again because we don't have the macro factors. We don't have just the hype cycle. We don't have the top of, the longest bull run in history, basically the blow off top, which is always kind of what happens. It kind of goes, boom. And then, you do that number there. We just don't have any of those factors this time around, so I don't see it happening. But if it does, that's absolutely what I would do.
Look, you stupid idiot! Why are you even talking about that bear, Cathie Wood? I mean, she routinely puts out the most ridiculous Tesla models ever. It just screams and oozes bear. In case you hadn't noticed, she just spoke at one of those short sellers events. Heck, you might as well have that guy with 3 first names because those parents couldn't figure out how to get my middle name and a last name on your channel as well because he's a perma bear. And don't even get me started on those hyper diaper morons who think buying a Tesla by selling Tesla shares is somehow a bullish move. These are literal bears doing bear things. All right, let's get down to business and get you guys a real price target because Luke clearly is a moron and I don't even want to know what his is. So for me, if you're gonna ask me what Tesla's at 4 years from now, let me tell you what it is. It's gonna have a 1 at the front, and then a 0, and 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 a 0, because I'm the Tesla ball! I'm the Tesla ball! I'm the Tesla ball!